Well, the U.S. and South Korea began the first of 5 live-fire military drills near the border of North Korea today. The military exercises, which will run until mid-June, will involve stealth fighter jets, attack helicopters, and multiple rocket launch systems. North Korea has called the drills, quote, a typical North Korea targeted war rehearsal. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Elizabeth Palmer is following the story from Tokyo for us, and she's joining us this morning. I feel like that characterization of these drills is actually mild coming from North Korea. Usually their language is so much more bombastic. But what more do we know about the latest round of military exercises?
Well, the scale is enormous. They're the biggest in the 70-year history of the American-South Korean military alliance, which was formed back at the end of the Korean War in 1953. 2,500 South Korean and American military personnel will be practicing armed responses to what one official called North Korean provocation scenarios. Now, that could mean anything from a ground invasion to a missile strike. They'll be putting the hardware that you mentioned through its paces, but also swarms of drones, unmanned weapons, which we now know are going to play a big role in future warfare. And it's all happening at a training facility in South Korea, but less than 25 miles from the border with North Korea.
And so then what is the goal of these elaborate and frankly pretty expensive exercises?
Well, first of all, it's going to give the Americans and the South Koreans fighting experience side by side. And that's very important, not only for the soldiers and airmen, but the commanders, too. They need practice because it's very complex to get two militaries to coordinate seamlessly in big operations. And then, of course, it is a show with a clear message to North Korea's dictator Kim Jong-un that he'd better not even think about any attacks or incursions into South Korea. The not-so-subtle hint here is the name of the exercises. They're called the Combined Annihilation Drills. And to underline that it's a show, social media influencers have been invited to observe. And of course, the point of that is that they're going to send the message far and wide online.
Well, as you know, often with these drills, there is sort of a tit-for-tat messaging, if you will. How can we expect North Korea to respond to these exercises? Often they're framed as a deterrent, but I don't know how often they are a deterrent. What might we see from Kim Jong-un?
Well, so far they've functioned as a deterrent because there hasn't been an attack. How is North Korea going to respond? As you say, it's kabuki. You know, the Americans and the South Koreans do an exercise and the North responds with some kind of military gesture, and then we go back to status quo ante, which is the way, frankly, it really has to stay, because the alternative would be a catastrophe. North Korea has expressed its anger. It's said the drills are a war rehearsal, as you said, and has warned of corresponding responses. We can guess what they might be, some top possibilities based on the weapons we know the North Koreans have been developing. Maybe the launch of a next-generation intercontinental ballistic missile, perhaps a military satellite that could help North Korea with nuclear weapons targeting, or maybe even that long-awaited underground nuclear test, which would be its first since 2017. But we won't know probably until next week at the earliest.
All right, Elizabeth Palmer, thank you.